Hello, this is Aubrey and the Command Me Podcast, episode 4. If you are new to the show, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you're returning, so glad that you came back. But yeah, this is our 4th episode, and a lot of this is, I want to be a little bit of a response to a comment I got on my last episode. Basically, which thank you so much. I really, love getting to interact and respond to people, and I want to create a little bit of a Catholic bubble community, But so anyway, thank you to the commenter for commenting. I really appreciate it. But basically saying that the idea of being present in suffering was like different or something different than what they've heard, or just not something that they'd really thought about before. Like, how do you be specifically present while you're in the midst of something hard? And so so really appreciate that. And then also just was asking if, in my opinion, the more that you embrace being present in suffering, the more you grow close to Christ. And they had this beautiful example, because they said not to like be Christ, but which we're also called to imitate Christ. So it's a valid example too. But also comparing the good thief on the cross next to Christ, like you're being, which it doesn't occur to me to talk about like the good thief that often, or I don't know, I just haven't been super contemplative of like his position. But what an insane parallel of like, or not parallel, but example of what we're called to. Like, if we're called to unite our sufferings to the cross, and he's there sitting with him on the cross, like that's wow. Anyway, and so yeah, so it was just a really good example, and I would in response to that, agree that the more that you do embrace kind of that position, the more growth you're going to be stepping into. And so yeah, and so I had that, and then I wrote down some saint quotes about being in suffering, and just that I thought really applied. Like, this has been the church's take, is that's the path. And I think we forget too, like, the modern age of distraction, and I don't know, like, it's so specific. I don't know if humanity's been as lonely. Well, I don't know, but that's not necessarily. Okay, here's the thing. If we go and look at what life is now, it's not, oh, I lost half of my siblings to this flu, or I got sent to war, or just a lot of stuff where, like, I don't know, like, if you experience something that's not even to that level, you're gonna get sent to therapy, and like, oh, I had a trauma in my life, and and it's like, it's a story instead of it's just life, kind of. Or I don't know, like, just, we do have it very easy in terms of the human experience. Like, so much has fundamentally changed in regards to the human experience. Like, giving birth, you don't necessarily have to be in, I mean, it's super difficult of an experience, and I don't mean to undermine anyone by the way that I'm talking, but like, just also contextually, I think we can admit that an epidural is pretty awesome, or a cesarean, even though it's still major surgery, is pretty freaking awesome. And so I don't know, so just like, with that context, like, the things that we're struggling with is, life is really easy instead of really hard, and that's not good for a person. And so I don't know, just being aware of, like, or not being, keeping that in mind of like, the problem that we're dealing with is, it's so easy to just not be super present to your life. And so I don't know, so it's just funny, it's like, being present in suffering is something that we have to be aware of, and we can look to the saints for how they talk about suffering, but it really is a pretty new major problem. And it's just funny to think about, and just, it'll be interesting, like, new, like the saints of our age, like as time goes on and that expands, oh my gosh, there's dogs. I don't know whose dogs these are. Look at, I don't know, there's more. I don't know whose dogs these are. There's dogs. There's not a person coming. Hi, babies. Hello. Hi, honey. Who? Hello. Hi, babies. What is going on? Hi. They're just leaving now. Whose are you? Hi, baby. Oh, okay, there's a person coming. I was like... That was so funny. And now they're just running off into the desert. Oh, there's people. But anyway. No, you're all good. Yeah, no, I got a podcast going. That's so funny. I'm keeping it. I'm just like, there's a bunch of dogs. I don't know what's happening. I couldn't even. That's so funny. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, that's hilarious. But, yeah, so it's just a new problem. So, like, with time and, just the saints of our generation, like, what's gonna be the things that we talk about, and I don't know, like, you are gonna be representative of your time, and I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, people have always been people, and there's certain realities to that, but then also just what it means to be a person and have to go through this world and walk the walk, like, really changes and evolves, and it's fun. But anyway, so I have some saint writings and quotes that I think are cool. So I'm gonna start off with my homegirl, Saint Teresa. Or wait, is that Teresa? Yeah, they say Teresa. I always am like second guess if it's a Therese or a Teresa or a Therese or whatever. But Saint Teresa of Ávila. We always find that those who walked closest to Christ were those who had to bear the greatest trials. And so, I don't know, like, that's just so special. So now it's not like, oh, like, Christ is letting this thing in your life to teach you something, which is true, but, like, I don't know, like, as a marker specifically of, like, you're close to him, or, I don't know, it's just, I feel like either you can take it as, like, this, like, reason for optimism. That's what I want to say. It's like, man, I've had a hard life, like, Jesus must love me a lot because he's giving me all of this opportunity, which is a really difficult position of heart to have, and I feel like takes time. And if you're not doing that perfectly all the time or a lot of the time, like, that's fine. Like, you still, like, walk in virtue, walk in grace, but that's how you can kind of find that little joy in it, and the little, like, you know what, and be more present and be more, like, leaning into the suffering itself. Like, that's just one of those little ways of how you relate to the thing. And that's kind of what I'm going to end up talking about a lot, is like your relationship and beliefs and ideas and what you feed yourself and consume, and, like, just allow, like, the choices you make, like, it does affect your lens. It does affect just how you interact with the world. At the end of the day, it's like, what do you allow yourself to think, and how do you allow yourself to relate to things? Like, make as many choices and don't just allow, like, that activity. Be present, be active, choose your life, do your life, like, do the adventure of your life. Like, that's kind of what I mean by that, is those little things where it's like, oh, I don't want to do that, but you know what, I get to pick my view anyway. And I had a cool, or I thought was just a different thought than I'd previously had on it, because not all saints had, like, super terribly gruesome lives, right? Like, some of them, I don't know. I was thinking, okay, well, because I was thinking it's like, it's not a criticism to you as a listener if you haven't been through something crazy. And life, ultimately, like, life, you will experience something bad, and how you deal with it matters a lot and whatever. But my thought was the apostles, is we were talking about Saint John, in our, I think, last episode or maybe the second episode, just previously we had, and about how he chose to be at the foot of the cross instead of hiding with everyone else, which is objectively easier and like you're more removed. And he watched his Lord and Savior, and well, didn't know it at the time, but he watched his God die. He watched his best friend, like this like person that he's spent so much time with and has loved so much, and he like watched all of this, and it's this huge injustice. But even in that intense pain, like how much better, like you got to love instead of being removed. Like I'm sure that's such a regret of the apostles, like not getting to at least be there for Jesus, like just to be present, you know. And he's the only one who didn't have some terrible death, like a crucifixion, and then like just all of these terribly gruesome deaths. Like they still got to have that kind of like, how do I want to say that? Like by witnessing Christ's death, like John kind of did have that same experience as Peter getting crucified upside down and uniting that to the cross. Like Peter did this, like went through with this death, like accepted it and united it because out of just love for his God, and like at Jesus, like I love you so much and I'm gonna, like he's a martyr, like you're going and walking into that and with joy and like out of love for your God. But by John being present for the actual crucifixion, like he's doing the same thing. And so I don't know, it's just funny, like you might just not have the bigger picture yet, or I don't know, like I think probably everyone on a path or walk to holiness is going to have that experience, most likely. And so like if you get to sainthood, I think you can't not have had that. But in some capacity, in some degree, like you're making an offering of your life, and life is life. And so I don't know, expect it and be grateful for it, even though there's just so much of like Christianity and Catholicism specifically where it's like you do have to give everything. You're giving your life. You are giving your life. And you might as well, like the time's gonna pass anyway, and it's gonna be over no matter what. Like you might as well spend it well and get to the end of it and be at peace. But I don't know, I think we forget just not just the temporariness of life, but like this is not anything, like this is a path to a destination, like this isn't it. And it's just always good to be reminded of that, I feel, because again, it's just one of those truths where it's like it's the truth. And have I heard this time and time again from other people and have been made aware of it? Just life is so temporary, and you get like, oh my gosh, these realizations because maybe someone passes or whatever. Just all you get made aware of it by God and Scripture, and by your life teaches you that lesson. But I still think, I mean, you're called to meditate on that aspect. I mean, there's a whole season for the church for specifically that in Lent, and so, you know. But let's see, I have some other ones. This one's a Maximilian Kolbe quote. "My beloved, may every fault, even if it's serious and habitual sin, always become for us a small step toward a higher degree of perfection. In fact, the only reason the Immaculate permits us to fall is to cure us from our own self-conceit, from our pride, to make us humble, and thus make us docile to the divine graces." Which the divine graces, what is grace? God's own life in our soul. And so in order to participate in God, in the life of Christ, like you have to be made humble, you have to be made open, you have to, like, there's this inability without that action to connect with the life of Christ. Like it's just such a fundamental first in order to get there in relationship. And so I really, really like that quote. And then bringing in, like, even if it's serious habitual sin. Whoa. I feel like, well, and what is it? This month is for the Sacred Heart, right? And so, like, just being more aware of, like, like, mercy as a concept is so just, like, how do you reconcile that logically? It makes no sense, and it's just a gift of pure, perfect love. Like, to turn something, right, that, like, serious habitual sin into a good, like, it's not just like, oh, okay, you participate this, it's okay, like, I can still forgive you and get to the other side. It's like, no, he actually uses that and changes even that, and, like, we are made new, right? And so, like, completely and totally new. So if you are in some situation like that and you go to confession and are made new, even that, it's not something to just, like, move on and ignore and, like, or I don't know, it's like, oh, like, thank you, my God. Like, yes, but also, like, this, like, not was productive. Like, he made it new. He made it into something. And the fact that we're engaging in a sin of that degree or consistency says something about some lesson you need to learn, some way that you need to be changed, some way that you couldn't love God and participate with his life. Like, it's not just, oh, you were choosing to do something. Like, something is wrong with you. You are missing something. There's some piece. And, like, can you just be choosing to sin? Yes, and you have free will, and, you could have full knowledge and just be committing sin. But it's like, if you're fighting the fight and you're still just stuck in some way, or you have some past life, or just any of those things, like, it's not just, okay, God will forgive you. Like, he will use it, give it to him, but you do have to give it to him. That's that participation. That's that free will aspect. It's like, you do have to have that engagement. And so, anyway, but I love that quote. And it's so, just speaks to so much. It speaks to humility. It speaks to just that daily, just struggle, just the hour of your time of need. And I don't know, it's really, really love. And then I got one last one. Blessed be the crisis that made you grow, the fall that makes you look to heaven, the problems that make you seek God. And that's Padre Pio. And so, yeah. So I think undeniably, like, these are some really great saints, and that's how they talk about suffering and sin and the struggle in life. It's an opportunity, and give it to him and it will be used. And so, I don't know, it's just really cool that, I don't know, like, we have these friends to look to. Like, I feel like that's such a special thing about Catholicism specifically, is we have the saints. Like, we have all of these buddies that made it and are just rooting for us and cheering for us and, like, actually got there, because I'm not there. You're listening to me and I'm talking about Jesus, but I'm not there. Like, there's all of these people that are there and did make it and are on the other side of this thing. And I don't know, it's just really neat that you get to hit them up and be like, help me out and show me, but yeah. And so it's just cool. So that's ultimately my response to this comment. I was really excited to get to talk about that. And kind of a little segue into just more my plans for this, but for the show. So this is obviously Saturday, and I said in my last episode, I think, that I want to post on Fridays, which is true. I'm going to make next Friday one this weekend, and hopefully be doing that. I don't know why. I just put things in here and then have to stick to it, but I need to meditate on things more before I commit to stuff, because very, very busy with work, and half the time I have my voice gone, and it's just, we'll figure it out. It's fine. But, and I want to start keeping you in the loop of what my plans are, and with consistency and posting, this is making me disciplined. This is a good thing for me in a lot of aspects and ways, but the biggest one I feel is I have to be consistent, because I said something and it's out there for the world to know, and if I don't follow through on it, you all will know. And I'm sorry. Also, we need to take a moment to appreciate how beautiful, and I don't feel like it's weird. I need to figure out like color grading and stuff, which, I mean, it looks really, I can see the camera and what it looks like, but I need to work on that, because this is crazy. But yeah, and so I actually had a verse that I wanted to read, because I feel like it's highly relevant, but it's 1 Peter 5:8. Stay sober and vigilant. Your adversary, the devil, is like a lion roaring in the night. And I just like this because we're talking a lot about humility and surrendering and giving up and just this participation, but you have to do it like you're letting Christ take your life and use your life, and surrendering yourself to whatever his will looks like, but also that there's strength in that humility. Like, you are fighting this adversary, you are at war, I don't know, like, there's just, that's something that gives me a little bit of consolation, or maybe it just feeds my ego, where I'm like, oh, I'm fighting the fight, but like, you are fighting the fight, like, you are, like, life is hard, and like, you get to do the thing. And so, I don't know, I like that it speaks to that strength in humility. And I want to talk, I'm going to definitely do an episode about how specifically different virtues connect with humility, and like examples of that. But I feel like that's a really good example of humility, maybe underlying strength. Like, there's strength in humility, but that's probably more of an example of humility and strength. And so, yeah, so I don't know. I just thought it was relevant and a cool verse, and highly recommend that chapter. I know the verse before and after just adds more substance and roundness to it, but that's what I had written, and so that's when you get. And yep, I wish I had more prepared, but I don't. I'm going to have another episode that'll probably be longer and have different segments, but I mostly wanted to respond to that comment and get something out, just because I missed yesterday's me set deadline. But expect Friday posts. And my challenge for you today is to two things. Offer up some little thing of your day, or big thing if you've had some big thing to offer up, but at least some little thing, and spend some quiet time before you go to bed. Spend some intentional silence, and meditate on his mercy. That's my challenge. And so thanks for joining me. I am praying for you guys, and yeah, be not afraid. Bye.